and today we have a new standard, and that's Reading Literature Standard 4, which is analyzing how certain words and phrases create mood, tone, and meaning. So these three words you might have heard before: mood and tone and meaning. So let's review what those are first. So mood is the feeling that you get while reading. Just like you're in a certain mood today, that's the same thing, the mood that the reading gives you. And it's not bored. It's something with feeling. I like to teach mood is how it moves you. So mood moves to help you remember. Tone, which is a little harder, is how the narrator is saying it, the words. So someone says something in a certain tone. I like to use tone equals how they tell it. Tone is how you tell it. So remember, tone, tell. You can hear the same sentence spoken in different tones. For instance, you could hear, "Get down here right now!" Or you could hear, "Get down here right now." They're different tones. How you tell it is the tone of the story. So how the narrator tells it. Meaning is basically just the message the author is trying to get across. So we're going to try to do this by first looking at some pictures. So you're going to go to the Inside Out and Back Again resources, and there's something called Vietnam Pics. So you're going to find those, and this is what they look like. There's several of them. And you're just going to go through and find certain things in the picture that would convey a certain mood. So let's do the first thing together. So what do you notice in the picture that stands out? Well, first I notice this smoke, and I notice kind of this pained expression on the guy's face. So I'll come back here and I'll write smoke, guy in pain, guy running. Okay, so what mood or what feeling do you get while looking at that picture? You're going to turn to page 8 in your Inside Out and Back Again packet, and there's a ton of words that would describe mood, and it cuts it up between positive or negative. So based on those images that you see, what is the mood of this picture? Does it look like a happy mood? No. It looks like a very, I'm going to say, frantic and rushed mood. So I'm going to say frantic. Even panic. So what's the meaning that, in this case, the photographer is trying to get across? So I would say, since this creates a frantic mood, I think that he wanted to show that the guy was in danger and he was trying to get out of there very fast. I want to go ahead and do one more with you. This one. So what images stand out to me in this picture? So I'm going to say maybe the coffins, definitely. The fact that all the men are saluting. Everyone's standing very still. So what feeling do you get while looking at that picture? Go to page 8 and try to think of a word, a mood word. Does a happy picture? No. I would say very somber or sad. Heartbroken. So what message is the photographer getting across? Maybe that many Americans died in the war. Okay, so now you get the idea. So in your notebook you should have this. This is not in the packet, this chart. You have to draw this in your notebook and go through and do the rest of the pictures. find the images that are shocking to you, and then write a mood word and what message you think the author was getting across. So after you do that, you're going to turn to page 60 in the book and read this poem, Wet and Crying. And we're going to try to do the same exact thing, this time using a poem. And you're going to turn to page 9 in the packet. Okay, the graphic organizer on page 9 will help you determine mood and tone. So turn to page 9 and turn to page 60 in the book to read this poem. Wet and Crying. My biggest papaya is light yellow, still flecked with green. Brother Vu wants to cut it down, saying it's better than letting the communists have it. Mother says yellow papaya tastes lovely dipped in chili salt. You children should eat fresh fruit while you can. Brother Vu chops, the head falls, a silver blade slices. Black seeds spill like clusters of eyes, wet and crying. So we're going to say which words jump out at us, just like we said what images jumped out at us in the picture. So go to page 9 in your packet, and in order to analyze the mood, you need to figure out how many positive words there are in the poem or story and how many negative, because that's going to help us figure out what kind of mood it is. So if you look at the poem, what positive words do we see? Maybe biggest, lovely. Really don't see any others, so I'm just going to go back to page 9 and put biggest and lovely. Okay, let's look at if we see any negative words. So what jumps out at you? Cut, chops, falls, slices, blade, that could be negative. Spill, crying. So there's a lot of negative words. So cut, chop, slices, fall, crying, blade, spill. So now we need to use a word to describe the mood of the poem. Again, that's on page 8 in your packet. So looking at our little chart here, if you notice, I don't think that this poem has a very positive mood. If you notice, there's a lot more words in the negative mood. Therefore, we're going to look on page 8 in the negative mood side. What feeling or what mood does that poem give you? Look on page 8 and try to write a word. I'm going to say it's very morose. Morose means like, it's almost like deadly. You know that root word, M-O-R, means death. It's very morose. There's blades and slices and the head falling off. Very nightmarish. These are both from page 8. So it's a very ghastly mood. I like that one too. So here's the hard part, tone. For tone, you're going to want to go to page 7 in your book. So how do you think Ha is telling this? Tone is tell. How does she tell about it? So someone could tell something in a very light-hearted type of tone, or calm, or silly. This doesn't really sound like that type of tone. It sounds like the opposite. So if you look on that list on page 7, and try to come up with a tone word, I would say it's a very gloomy tone. And disappointed. So when you think about tone, you want to see how is the narrator acting right now? How does she tell it? So let's come up with meaning now. What is the author trying to show by doing this? Creating this very morose, nightmarish tone, mode, and Ha telling it in a very disappointed tone. I would say that the author wants to show how upset Ha is. About the papaya tree. She almost thought of the papaya tree as a person, because it says the head falls, clusters of eyes. So she's almost like a part of her has died. And the author wanted to show how important that was to her. So, that is what you missed if you are absent on that day. Homework is going to be to read pages 100 to 122.